All right, we're finally getting an adaptation of the Bible, something we've all been waiting for. Luckily, John Milton's going to be our guy to do it. He's the same one, if you remember, he did Comus. He also did On the Morning of Christ's Nativity, although this one's a little longer and a bit of a doozy. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, books 1 through 4. Let's get into it. We're immediately dropped in with Satan and his crew, and they're plotting and planning, and they're talking and debating, and it's honestly one of the best parts of the book. My favorite part about it is I'm sure we're going to get to meet all these characters again, and that they'll stay right in the book, and we get to watch them grow and explore. I hope. I mean, it would be crazy if they never showed up again, right? Right? Satan comforts his fallen friends by saying, "All is not lost, the incomparable will, and the study of revenge, immoral hate, encourage never to submit or yield." It's so heartwarming and inspiring coming from Satan, and I can't wait to see how it affects all of his friends and like what they do with the rest of their time together. And that's kind of all of book 1, to be honest. Then we dive into book 2, which continues with the demons and the devil deciding on how to get back against the Father. Moloch is all, fight him till we die. And Mammon is all, what if we just stay here in hell and chill? Which I really like, because then we get different avenues, you know? And we get to see maybe how the different ways they're going to try to overtake heaven. Again, I hope to hear more of these characters. I'm sure we will. Right? Eventually, from Beelzebub's input, Satan decides that the best way to get back at the Father is to mess with his children. And he went ahead and started making these new things called humans, and we're going to see how they're going to toil in trouble and try to take them away from the Father. Book 2, summed up in a paragraph, faster than John Milton. It didn't need over 1,000 lines to explain that, especially if they're going to debate and then go ahead and do nothing with that debate. Anyways, book 3. Milton at the beginning is usually invoking the name of God, but this time he invokes light, which makes sense because he was blind. Which also makes sense why he's probably a little more short-sighted on some narrative things. Quick scene change, and we're no longer in hell, we're now in heaven, and we see the Father talking to the Son. This part's actually pretty interesting. The Father's going ahead and explaining how free will exists, but it's not the same thing as predestination, that it will happen, but that's only because he can see all time at the same time, rather than the Father having his fingers and everything, making things move and making things bend a certain way. He more or less rolls the dice and lets things happen. Then, oh shit, plot twist, the Son reveals that he is going to give his life for the rest of humanity. That's something I did not see coming, and neither did John Milton. He was blind. And then Satan makes his way up the stairway of heaven, disguised as a cherub, and tricks Uriel into letting him in. That's where book 3 ends. It's a lot of conversation, which is crazy because we're talking about the beginning of life on Earth as we know it. There's a whole lot of conversing. Book 4 gives us some new characters, which I was not expecting to happen so fast. Also, a lot happens in book 4, which I appreciate. Satan still got his baby wings, goes up to watch Adam and Eve, that's the humans, and stares at them reflecting on his own decisions. It took us a bit, but wow, we're finally getting some real character development here, and it happens to be coming from Satan. I didn't like the sexy devil at first, on the fact that he's the devil, but he's really starting to grow on me. He goes up to watch Adam and Eve, and he hates them because they're really pure and kind of made of love right now, which is not his motif. We get our first look at Adam, who's really annoying in this book. He jumps in to remind Eve that they only have one rule, and that's not to eat from the tree of knowledge. Spoilers, they do that. Then, Archangel Uriel starts thinking, oh dang, was that Satan earlier dressed as a baby? Spoilers, it was. And that's the first 4 books. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to see all the characters from hell come back. I'm looking forward to see Adam grow to be a really good leader. I want to see how the Father is an awesome overarching character, how the Son steps in. Overall, I give these first 4 books 8 out of 10. Looking forward to the next one. Boom! Hey, guys. So a lot of our hopes from Milton and then the last 4 books don't really show up here. But I'm sure that's just me as a reader. I guarantee we're going to get right back into the crazy narrative of early humanity and what it was like and then the creation of life itself, you know? And I'm sure we'll see more of Beelzebub or Mammon, and I'm sure they're not just going to disappear into the ether, you know? And I'm looking forward to see Adam take the reins of life, you know, and show his family how to live a good life. Books 5 through 8. Okay, book 5. We're getting new characters. We now have Raphael, who's basically a walking encyclopedia for all things holy, so I'm sure that's going to be super interesting. He seems like a good dude. God sends him to talk to Adam, especially because Satan now has his little greedy fingers and everything. Raphael is convincing Adam to be a good little boy and explaining how to obey, which is really sweet. And I'm sure that's going to be the last we'll hear of it. Then Raphael tells Adam about Satan's rebellion, all while Eve is somewhere else, probably wrestling with her disobedient dream she had. I don't really know where she goes for a lot of these conversations. She more or less, when Raphael shows up, she dips out. All right, book 6 is kind of just more stories from Raphael. We get a flashback scene of the fight between heaven and hell. So, all right, book 7. No more exposition from Raphael. Psych, Raphael keeps telling Adam that disobedience is bad. Book 8. Now we're done with Raphael. Wrong. Psych again, idiot. Raphael keeps telling more stories. This time, Adam almost stands on his own feet, and he starts asking questions about the universe, to which Raphael replies, "Don't even worry about it, bro. Don't even trip. Just keep her going." To which Adam is like, "No, as a human, especially as the first human, I want to be able to accumulate this knowledge." And no, I'm just kidding. He says, "That's fine. I won't think about it." So, all right, I'm not gonna lie. These 4 books were a bit of a snooze fest. The first one had hell and all this cool cast of characters, and then we don't really see them again. And this one's just exposition. You almost feel like Adam, because Raphael's sitting there going, "Don't be bad. Don't think too much. Just chill. Where's Eve? Go fuck yourself." I mean, I don't really know what to say. Nothing happens. Where's Beelzebub? Where's the father? Why is Raphael on my ass about things I didn't even do? 3 out of 10. But welcome back. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was my fault. Okay? Because these last 4 books, things actually start happening. Here we have the 4 final books, and like the fallen children of God, we're somewhat redeemed. We start with book 9, and guess what? Stuff happens. Plot happens. Plot moves forward. Satan comes back into Eden, sneaking around like a serpent, and he tries to convince Eve, "Hey, you're going to really like this fruit. It's going to change your life." He's like an infomercial guy explaining how this new item is going to change your kitchen and how your relationship with your kids. And the best part of this is Eve is also the only character to actually respect character arcs and grow and change throughout the book, which I really appreciate because no one else really does that. So Eve eats it and is like, "Hell yeah. Should I tell Adam about this?" And she has some internal conflict, just like Satan did, about whether or not she should. She loves him, but she also doesn't want to damn him to hell forever, which is understandable. I mean, she wants to share the experience, like a partner does. And there's real conflict. Adam ends up eating it, and Adam and Eve start arguing and blaming each other. Once Adam eats the fruit, he's stoked about the newfound knowledge, just as she is. And then they realize that their paradise is lost. God, this book is good. I'm so glad that things are starting to happen. Like I said, we're starting to turn things, and things are happening. I hope they keep happening and don't just all of a sudden fall off. Book 10 is a breath of fresh air. We start getting more plot. What a blessing. Do have a few issues with it. I know they kind of covered it in the beginning about predestination and free will, but the father knew the whole thing was going to happen, and he even knew that Satan was going into Eden, and he just sort of let that happen, which honestly feels like a narrative cop-out. But at least the son is back, huh? Well, the son only kind of exists as a second coming of Raphael. He strolls in and kind of starts just giving punishments. Serpents, legless. Wives, you're now below your husband and have to obey everything he says. Which is weird, because that's already been what's happening. Eve already has to obey everything Adam says. She already is below Adam. But now it's written in stone by the son. Humans get clothes now. Sick. Satan goes back to hell, but not before sending sin and death to come ravage the earth. And all his friends are snakes, and the tree of knowledge is now in hell, but if you try to take a bite of it, turns to dust. Oh, and the earth sucks now. Weather, bad. Crops, die. This whole book is basically Milton explaining the morals of God and the fall of humanity and why it is the way it is. Oh, and there's no more Stairway to Heaven. Book 11, almost there. Adam and Eve are kicked out like drunkards at a club that's too nice for them to be at. The son makes a deal with Daddy that says he will give his own life for the rest of humanity so that way they may spend eternal life with the Father. And then Archangel Michael, the one who kicked Adam and Eve out, straight sleeps Eve onto the ground while he goes and talks to Adam about the rest of lore and the rest of life and more exposition, just like Raphael did. Except this is exposition from the future. He starts telling about Cain and Abel, about Noah's Ark, I think this is supposed to be read as some sort of pep talk for Michael, but it's really not given that. And the only reason it's not is because Adam sits there and just takes it, and he's like, word, good point. Because, of course, Adam is on board with everything, unless it means taking accountability. All right, last book, baby. Are we getting more plot to finish it off? No, don't be stupid. No, of course not. It's time for more exposition. Tower of Babel, ever heard of it? Tower of Babel, bad. Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, and Moses. Remember them from the story? You shouldn't. They're set up for the sequel. Because John Milton's a sellout. And the son is going to be a big part of the new sequel, because he's going to be the one known as Jesus. Which sounds like pretty big sandals to fill. In the end, though, Adam and Eve kind of agree that this was the best course of action for everything, which I believe is part of the takeaway. You go ahead and start feeling, hey, it sucks that we fell from God, but we also get to have all these great joys. And yes, there's suffering, but the more suffering you have, the more joy there is as well. Because you can't enjoy one without the other. I mean, they kind of like start feeling, hey, maybe this isn't the worst thing to ever happen. But at this point in time, it actually is the worst thing to ever happen. Just like so far. But at least they have a chance to make it back to God after death. And that's the last 4 books. The last 4 were really good. The first 4 were really good. The 4 in the middle, crazy town. Couldn't handle it. What the hell was he thinking? Give the last 4 books like a 7 out of 10. Not as good as the first 4, definitely better than the middle 4. Maybe we'll read Paradise Regained. That's not true. That's a lie.